The dim glow of bioluminescent crystals pulsed like a frantic heartbeat across the royal chamber of Zorith Prime, casting long, wavering shadows that danced across the obsidian walls veined with living silver. The air was thick with the metallic tang of alien blood and the sharp ozone bite of failing medical fields. Dr. Elena Voss stood rigid at the center of it all, her human hands still stained with iridescent violet fluid that shimmered under the lights like spilled starlight. Her white coat, torn and scorched from the desperate surgery, clung to her sweat-drenched frame. Beside her, the hover stretcher hummed unsteadily, cradling Princess Lyara, her once vibrant violet skin now pale as moonlit frost, her elegant antennae drooping limply, chest rising in shallow, desperate gasps that rattled like dying wine through crystal chimes. Every breath the princess took sent a fresh spike of fear through Elena's chest. The venom from the assassin's blade had been engineered for perfection, fast, merciless, unraveling the royal bloodline from the inside out. Elena's mind raced back to those harrowing hours in the shadowed medical annex, scavenged human tech jury-rigged with Zorathian crystal amplifiers, her fingers flying through neural splices while Lyriel's screams echoed in her memory. She had whispered to the princess through it all, "Stay with me. Fight, damn you. Humans don't quit, and neither will you." Now, here in the throne room, those words felt like fragile shields against the storm brewing around her. King Vortak loomed on his massive throne of fused meteorite and bone, his scaled form easily twice Elena's height, mandibles clicking with a rhythm that promised violence. His compound eyes, multifaceted orbs reflecting 1,000 fractured images of the terrified human, bore into her with unfiltered fury. Flanking him, the royal guard leveled energy spears that hummed with lethal charge, their tips glowing an angry crimson. The gathered alien nobility, a sea of towering figures in silken robes embroidered with glowing runes, murmured in a low, menacing chorus. Whispers slithered through the chamber: human filth. Deception. Execution. "You, a fragile, soft-skinned human," King Vortak rumbled, his voice like grinding boulders echoing off the high vaulted ceiling. The sound vibrated through Elena's bones, making her knees threaten to buckle. He leaned forward, claws digging gouges into the throne's arms. "You dare claim to have saved my daughter? Our greatest healers, masters of biocrystal manipulation and neural weaving, failed within minutes. What trickery is this? What poison have you truly injected into her veins?" Elena's heart hammered against her ribs like a war drum, each beat a countdown. She could feel the eyes of the court dissecting her, weighing her worth against the Empire's ancient pride. One wrong word, one tremor in her voice, and those spears would lance forward, ending her in a blaze of plasma. Sweat trickled down her spine, mixing with the dried blood on her sleeves. But beneath the terror, a fierce resolve burned, forged in the operating theater where she had bet everything on human ingenuity against an alien physiology that textbooks called incompatible. "No trickery, Your Majesty," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, though it cracked at the edges. She glanced at Lyriel, whose weak fingers brushed against Elena's own in a silent, trembling plea. That touch, warm, desperate, alive, sent a surge of emotion through her: relief, connection, something deeper that had sparked in those long, blood-soaked hours. Just, human stubbornness. Your healers relied on tradition. I relied on whatever worked. I spliced neural regulators from my ship's emergency kit into her circulatory system, used your own crystal amplifiers to stabilize the venom's cascade. She fought like hell. I just gave her a chance to keep fighting." A low, collective growl rippled through the nobility. One advisor, his carapace etched with royal glyphs, stepped forward with a hiss. "Lies. The scans show impossible readings, human contaminants in royal blood. She has defiled the princess." The king's mandibles snapped shut with a crack that made Elena flinch. Vortak's massive fist slammed onto the throne arm, sending a shockwave that rattled the hover stretcher. Lyriel's vitals monitor, a hybrid device Elena had cobbled together, beeped erratically, a shrill warning that the poison might be surging again. Elena's stomach twisted. Another minute, maybe two, and the fragile balance could shatter. She had poured every ounce of her skill, every prayer of her exhausted soul, into keeping Lyriel alive. The thought of losing her now, after everything, clawed at her heart with icy dread. Silence. Vortak bellowed, the command reverberating like thunder. His compound eyes shifted, focusing entirely on Elena. The paternal anguish in his posture was raw, unmistakable, the rigid set of his shoulders, the way his claws trembled with restrained grief. My daughter is the heart of our empire. The bridge to our future. Bound by blood and unyielding duty. Healers of 10 generations failed her. Yet you, a lone human scavenger pulled from the wreckage of your crashed vessel, dragged her from the abyss. The suspense coiled tighter, a noose of silence falling over the chamber. Elena's breath caught in her throat as the king rose slowly, his shadow swallowing her whole. The guard spears hummed louder, energy crackling along their shafts. She could see her death in their stances. Quick, merciless, justified in the name of royal honor. Memories flashed, the princess's eyes locking with hers during surgery, violet depths filled with terror and unexpected trust. Why do you help me, human? Lyriel had whispered through the pain. Because I can, Elena had replied, her own hands shaking as monitors screamed. And because no one deserves to die alone in the dark. Vortak descended the throne steps, each footfall a seismic event that vibrated the crystal floor beneath Elena's boots. He stopped mere feet away, close enough that she could smell the smoky incense on his scales and feel the heat radiating from his bulk. His claw hovered over a ceremonial blade at his side, a relic said to have slain empires. Betrayal? Execution? The air grew suffocating, thick with the weight of judgment. Elena's mind screamed for escape, but her feet remained planted. She wouldn't abandon Lyriel. Not after holding her life in her hands. Time stretched agonizingly. The princess's breaths grew shallower, the monitor's beeps accelerating into a frantic rhythm that mirrored Elena's pulse. Tears stung the corners of her eyes, not from fear for herself, but for the young royal who had shared fragments of her soul in those desperate hours. Dreams of peace between stars, fears of a throne that demanded perfection, quiet admiration for the soft human who never gave up. You have proven something impossible, Vortak snarled at last, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried more menace than his roar. Humanity's fire burns brighter than our ancient stars. Defiant. Reckless. Unbreakable. With a thunderous exhale that shook the bioluminescent crystals overhead, sending cascades of ethereal light showering down like falling stars, the king lowered his claw. The guards hesitated, spears dipping uncertainly. The nobility fell into stunned silence, their murmurs dying like embers in vacuum. Vortak reached to his own chest, unclasping a heavy, jeweled sigil, an ornate emblem pulsing with inner royal energy, symbolizing sovereignty, protection, and eternal bond. He placed it into Elena's trembling palm, the weight of it nearly buckling her wrist. She is yours, Dr. Elena Voss, Vortak declared, his words booming with finality and raw emotion. My daughter, my greatest treasure, the light of Zorith, given freely to the one who defied death itself. Guard her. Heal her. Love her as fiercely as you fought for her. Or face an empire's eternal wrath. Gasps erupted across the chamber. Elena's world tilted. The sigil burned against her skin, warm and alive, as if sealing some cosmic pact. Lyriel's eyes fluttered open then, violet pools shimmering with unshed tears of relief, gratitude, and something electric, profound and unspoken. Her hand tightened around Elena's with surprising strength, fingers intertwining in a grip that spoke of shared survival, of two souls forged in crisis. The princess's voice was a fragile whisper, audible only to Elena, "You saved me, and now I am yours. Stay." Emotion crashed over Elena like a tidal wave: joy, terror, overwhelming connection. The chamber's tension shattered into a whirlwind of reactions, some nobles kneeling in awe, others seething with outrage, guards lowering weapons in confusion. The hover stretcher stabilized, Lyriel's color slowly returning as the hybrid regulators hummed steadily. Vortak stood tall, his mandibles still, but his eyes held a complex storm of loss and respect. In that single, breathless moment, two worlds collided. Elena, the human doctor who had crash-landed into an alien war, now held the fate of a princess, and perhaps an empire, in her blood-stained hands. The crystals pulsed brighter, as if the planet itself acknowledged the shift. Suspense lingered in the air, the promise of challenges ahead, political fallout, cultural clashes, the deepening bond between a fragile human and a royal alien whose heart now beat in sync with her own. But for now, in the heart of the royal chamber, amidst the glow and the murmurs, Elena allowed herself one trembling smile as she squeezed Lyriel's hand back. They had survived the abyss. Together, they would face whatever stars lay ahead.